right, sending you that feed.
Here we are. Dance with me, gentlemen.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Radio Red in the house. It's October 07. And those of you watching us on Zoom, yes, I've got a birthday cake on my banner just because no matter what's happening in the world, it's still my day and I'm claiming it. So I want to thank the dozens and dozens of people who I hardly know on LinkedIn and Facebook for sending me birthday messages today. I appreciate and thank every single one of you, whoever you are. Thank you for reading the list of people you know have birthdays. There we go. I'm sharing this birthday with Joy Behar and Yo-Yo Ma, the famous cellist and musician. I had his sister in her Long Island Children's Orchestra Society on my television show in New York many, many years ago, and I met him, and it was lovely. Simon Cowell is celebrating today, and a couple of other people will get to their list later. So read my lips. It's Monday. Doesn't matter what's happening. I am here, and thank you to the lovely voice who introduced me. I've got three wonderful guests. I'm going to introduce them to you in a minute, and I met them all at the National Publicity Summit, where I've been a guest for, I think, about 12 years. I think I've done about 5,000 summits, maybe 6,000. I've lost count. But the point is that I did a tally recently. People say to me, where do you get all your guests? Because it's 3 or 4 every week. I have already booked 98 guests from the summit this year, and I'm very proud of that because these are people who want to speak to media like me and want to share their creativity, their passion for innovating, for doing something new and exciting and different. And thank you very much, Michael Jordan. And yes, thank you very much. My engineers all sent me a happy birthday. I appreciate that. But before we get started, gentlemen, on my panel, it's very rare for me to have an all boy panel, if I could say that. Let me get away with that. And I'm sure you all feel younger. Make the shape of the letter L, please, with your fingers. I don't care which hand it is. And we're going to do a shout out on a count of 3. Join me in saying, hello, LLL. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Wow, do they follow orders? Michael, my engineer, put them down. They're tied for number 1 as the most in sync. They're going to have a new boy band, man. The most in sync LLLs. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Leggs, my most loyal listener. She is in New York. I met her at a dance class about 20 years ago. We've stayed friends. And I'm warning you, Ken and William and Aaron, at 6:01 Eastern tonight, I will receive an email addressed to beautiful, gorgeous lady of red. I loved your show tonight. And she's going to tell me what Aaron said. And she's going to have a little report on what Ken said and what William said. And she's going to give me a little synopsis so you all know Laura is listening and watching. So you all behave yourselves. There we go. It is October 7th. I'm happy to be here. And I have a little ditty to open the show with. To my guests, when I call your name, please just wave. So here we go. And I'll tell you, I have a little quiz. Ken, if you saw the show before, you can't answer the quiz, but the others can. So welcome to Read My Lips, where creativity takes flight. Cool conversations with creatives, a round table of delight. With me, host akaRadioRed, whose words, just flow on her Scarlett mic in the live streaming glow. I've got the sunshade down, so it's not glowing. The title of today's episode is Making the Lemonade of Creativity. Aaron, I think that's in your honor. Today, we will reveal how 3 unique creatives work, think, and speak for real. Here we go. Aaron LaPedis, wave hello, was a garage sale pro at 9. He soared to millionaire with a vision sublime. His savvy turns clutter to cash with flair. Now he teaches the world how to sell with dare. With a heart for philanthropy and success as his guide, Aaron shows how creativity makes fortunes bona fide. Did you like that, Aaron?
Wow, I'm impressed.
Oh, I'm glad. I'll tell you in a minute. And by the way, I rent these poems out and I'll make a group rate if the other 2 liked it. So there you go. Now, Ken Rohlf is with us, a lawyer with wisdom so deep. He turned to writing children's books to help families keep memories of love through times of grief. His stories give hope, offering heartfelt relief. In Christmas Sun, his book, Grandma's Legacy Shines Bright, a tradition of love, family memories, delight. Ken, I hope you like that. Good.
That's terrific, Red. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And here we go. In higher ed, William Hudson led the IT tech scene. From Pepperdine to consulting, his impact was keen. Then a battle with cancer changed his life's course. Now he shares his survival through nature's force. In his book, Death Can Wait, William's story inspires and uplifts a journey of strength, cherishing life's gifts. William, did you like that? Oh,
Very good. Thank you. Very nice.
You're welcome. So gather round, lend us your eye and your ear as we dive into creativity with visions clear. akaRadioRed's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. Okay, gentlemen, what'd you think? Like it?
Great.
Loved it.
Very creative.
Here's the deal. I have a friend called ChatGPT, and she's my virtual assistant. Hold on. I took all of your bios. You know, your bios are 999 characters max. It comes at about 300 words. And I put them all into one screen. And I said, please write me a 4 to 6 line verse for each of my guests. And then I gave her my opening that's set and my closing, which I customized for today's episode. How long do you think, if you watched the show before and you heard the quiz, don't answer. How long do you think it took before ChatGPT, and that wasn't the end of it, before ChatGPT sent me back the core of what I read? Aaron, I don't think you've heard the show before. Minutes. And William, Ken, are you going to play or not? You going to play? No. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So Aaron and William, how many minutes do you think it took for ChatGPT to digest all of that amazing amount of information and give it back to me? What do you think, Aaron? Or hold up your finger. Any minutes, William or Aaron?
I think it's about 45 seconds.
Okay, William, what do you think?
Well, I've seen the show and I use Chat GPT all the time. So
Okay, Aaron, you're on the platform today. Aaron, I don't want to shock you, but it's less than 2 seconds.
Wow.
Now, here's the deal. Then I go through and I compare everything. I call her she, everything she sent me. I compare it to your bios. And sometimes I say, you didn't capture the heart of my guest. And I'll say, I want to get this, I want to get that. And she'll rewrite it, or I just sit here. I'm a poet as well. So I will rewrite the verses for each guest and make sure that I get the core of who you are plus the rhyme, and then I finalize it. So it's a combination of AI and human. So I just have to do a full transparency on that. I'm glad you all liked it, and it's my pleasure. It's a little different. I used to just have guests read their bios, but it's a lot more fun this way. So now that we know a little tiny bit about who you are, I'm going to put you each on speaker view in turn. First Aaron, and then Ken, and then William, and ask you to give us a real 3-minute, squeeze everything you've ever done in your life that's creative into 3 minutes and tell us who you really are. Aaron LaPedis, happy to meet you, happy to see you. I met you at the summit, and you and I have something in common, and I'll talk about it later. So Aaron, I'm putting you on speaker view. Please do me the honor of your introduction. Go ahead.
I've had an amazing, amazing life, starting out with 2 wonderful parents, but I think my life took a big turn when I wanted more toys. And I asked my parents about more toys, and they said, we're going to teach you this thing called garage sales. And I could not believe it, that you could put a whole bunch of stuff on your front lawn and people would actually buy it. And I learned that very quickly, made a lot of money, turned around and did a garage sale every year until I was 13. Then I needed to figure out how I could do better. I started buying coins and baseball cards, flipping those, getting better, going to estate sales. I turned and became a millionaire in my early 20s, which back then was a little more difficult because we did not have cell phones, social media, or anything like that. So I was doing it by small little ads in classifieds around the United States. I had an 800 number, and I was doing all this work out of my parents' house and doing very, very well. My mother was the door lady, and I would sell art through the front door of my parents' house, and she would regulate the people in my basement, and they would pull out art, and I would have big art sales. And then when I had one big art sale, one of the neighbors basically told on me and called my parents from their mountain house and said, your son is having a big party at his house during the day. They came down early. They walked into the house and realized I was doing something they didn't really understand. And then they started looking on the walls of their house and realized all their art was down and all my art was on the wall. And I was doing weekly art shows. And they thought they were coming home to me having a kegger. And that next day, I learned what overhead was all about because they started looking for me to move out. And the next client that walked in through the front door, my mother hit them up and asked if they had an extra room in their house. And he didn't understand what was going on. And next thing you knew, in a week, I was moved out of their house into now a very dear friend, my house, and I lived with him for a couple of years. He ended up creating the largest frame shop in Denver because of me. And I went on to open up the top 5% of all art galleries in the United States, went to chair the board of the Denver Film Festival, which at my age, in my 20s, I was the youngest board member, then became the youngest chair, wrote for the Denver Post in my early 40s, was on PBS for 8 seasons, national PBS for 8 seasons, with my own TV show called Collect This, and then wrote a award-winning book, best-selling book called The Garage Sale Millionaire. And that went on to have a great life as a gallery owner, which I ended up selling my gallery 1.5 years. And my pride of everything I did was to marry my wife, Sandy, and have a 15-year-old son right now. So that is
Lovely.
my life in a nutshell.
Wow. And rumor has it, Aaron LaPedis, that one day you sold your parents' living room set at a garage sale without their permission, and you got in a little bit of trouble for that. Just true or false? Is that true?
That is true, but I was just going to tell you all the good stuff that I did.
I think that's good. That's fun stuff. When I was between jobs many years ago, I was hosting a different radio show, and I had a woman who called herself the Queen of eBay Sales. And I got her book and I read it, and I needed some money. And my mom was an antique dealer, but she had a lot of stuff, tchotchkes, we called them, around the house. And she gave me things, and I started selling on eBay. And then I was teaching how to buy and sell on eBay at Adult Ed on Long Island. So it was a lot of fun. I didn't make a lot of money, but I had a blast. We're going to leave it there on the table. Thank you, Aaron. I knew right away when I met you at the summit, very unusual what you do, and we'll talk. I have other things in mind for you. Ken Rohlf is here. Ken, I'm so excited to have you. Would you please tell us your life story? Go ahead.
I will. Thank you. Thanks for having me. As far as the creative part of my life, as a child, as I thought back on this a little bit, I'd say, 8 or 10 years old, like Aaron said, back in the day, we used to collect a lot of baseball cards and whatnot. Any event, I think my first creative endeavor was to invent a board game that used the baseball cards. We'd have our little team, and then we'd roll the dice and whatnot, and we'd have our little neighborhood kids, and we had a big league and all that sort of jazz. And that was probably my first creative endeavor as 8 or 10 years old, and creating a board baseball game. I'd always had, with my dad's help, a little business after that I used to kind of help pay my way through college and ultimately through law school. And as we had kids and got older, I thought it would be a good idea to think of a business that my kids could be in, to kind of learn how to manage inventory and deal with people and whatnot. So they had both just started to play. We're from Minnesota. They had started to play hockey. And long story short, we created this business where we made commemorative hockey pucks for youth hockey players, so little kids. So it'd be, Jimmy Jones, and he'd play on Pee Wee A team, and then we put his team logo on there. We'd do a lot of teams and association type hockey pucks, and so that was great. My kids are thankful for being part of that experience. And lo and behold, one day I got a phone call, and it was from the Minnesota Wild, our NHL hockey team here. And long story short, we ended up selling 80,000 hockey pucks to the Minnesota Wild that they use to
What?
do a big promotion. So if you attended a game, everyone in the stands got a hockey puck. They did 4 promotions of 20,000 people, so that was the 80,000. So that was a great experience to do there. Thank you,
I just gave you
appreciate it.
fireworks. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you manufacture 80,000 pucks?
Yeah, so we enlisted the help of all the relatives, daycare providers, whoever we could get, rented a warehouse. They would come on Saturday. We'd give out the pucks and the decals and whatnot. They'd go back and put them together, show up the next week, and trade them off for the next set. So it was a logistical nightmare, but it worked out well.
Go ahead.
So then I started writing. So, like I said, my vocation is as an attorney. So that kind of was always something I was interested in. I wrote a self-help book that it's called Your Greatest Victory. It's really inspirational sports stories and motivational sports stories. That's serves as the heart of that book. Then I wrote a second book kind of for organizational and department leaders. So if you got a new job as leading a company or leading a new department, this book kind of walked you through, what to do in your first 100 days. Like, how do I get the people on my side, that sort of thing. Then during COVID, although I had never, and I'm still not, but I was never an artist, I began doing some digital artwork on my iPad, and it was a terrific experience. It was calming, it was rewarding, it was all those things, and so I really enjoyed doing that. Still doing it a little bit, but recently, as you mentioned, I got off in doing these children's books. So my grandson is now 5 months old. He is the first grandchild in our family. And after his birth, I started to write. Before he was born, I wrote the book. But the book is designed to help explain the loss of my wife to our grandchild. She passed away from pancreatic cancer before he was born. So that's the impetus for Christmas Sun. In the title, it's not a religious book, but the title, Christmas Sun, is based upon the fact that my wife actually passed away on Christmas Day.
Oh.
And one of her favorite things to do was to watch sunset. So that's that's the play on words on the title.
Beautiful.
So for me, I guess creativity is coming up with an idea and seeing it through to completion. You have to first have the idea, but then launch it to have it be of worth to anything else, to any other people out there. So that's my creativity story.
Thank you. We have a lot more to learn from your creativity statements you sent me later on in the show. So thank you very much, and condolences on the passing of your wife, Sherry. Okay.
Thank you.
And lucky grandchildren that you are caring about legacy and about continuing the story. It's beautiful. William Hudson is here. William has been cruising around the world, and he picked up something, and he warned me that he's a little scratchy, and I think he sounds great. So William, I'm delighted, and thank you for showing up, putting you on speaker view. We'd love to hear your story. Go ahead, William.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, I got in late yesterday from our cruise to Alaska, and it seems like there was something going around, and I caught it. So my voice is cleared up a little bit today, but since you don't notice anything, then I'll just move forward.
Go ahead.
Gosh, my life story. Wow. You might have to pull that out of me a little bit, but creatively, I remember when I was younger, I used to love to sing, and I learned how to play the guitar. I had a girlfriend that played the guitar, and she would sing folk songs, and I was in a church group, and I wanted to learn how to play the guitar and sing so I could impress her. And so I did. I self-taught myself how to play the guitar. I learned some basic chords and sang some, simple folk songs like Jet Plane, Leaving on a Jet Plane, and things like that. And then growing up in high school, I'd be at a party, and I'd see a guitar, and I'd grab the guitar, and I'd sing "Leave It on a Jet Plane," and people would group around and watch me and listen to me sing. So that was one creative thing I did. And I grew up in a home where my parents told me that I could not go out and play until I got all my homework done. And so that gave me the incentive to learn how to do things efficiently so I could get my homework done quickly. When I started working, I always found ways to get work done quickly. And so that's how I happened to get into computers early in my career. This was back even before personal computers were on board. And I really picked it up really quickly, and I enjoyed it. And it was all about, for me, it was all about how can I make this job or this process more efficient using computers. And I got really creative with that, and my bosses appreciated it because it made. I was director of admissions records at Pepperdine University. And when I was there, I found out more efficient ways to do application processing, for example, and things like that. And so my mom bringing me up to get my homework done, that helped me have a successful career in computers. And then, of course, the personal computers came out, and they did everything for you. So it took some of the creativity away when personal computers and software developers came out, and so yeah, and then while I was working, that was most of my career is computers, and then new things came out, and I learned the new things, and it was all kind of boring, to be honest with you. But then I needed to find something else. I didn't feel like I was making enough money, so I wanted to do something on the side, and I came up with a business idea. It was called Video Express, and this was before network. I mean, this is before Netflix came out, and I wish I was just a little too early because I could have been the Netflix guru, the person who started Netflix. I had a business called Video Express where I had a little sign and put it on top of it was a neon sign lit up, I put it on top of my car, and it was in my neighborhood in Calabasas, which was right through the canyon where I worked at Pepperdine. And in my little neighborhood, I set up a business, and I delivered new release videos to people in the neighborhood at night after my job, my full-time job. That lasted for a few months, and I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was actually losing money because I had to buy the new release videos. But it was fun. I got a Dropbox installed at one of the apartment buildings nearby, and that was my first failed adventure. But you have to keep trying, right? So then I moved on to fast forward to later in life. I was just living life like most people do, just trying to live life to the fullest. And then I got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and decided to make, what do you call it? What are you calling the show? Make lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
Yes. I decided well, it wasn't quite that quick. I was diagnosed with cancer. It turns out it was stage 4. We did surgery and immunotherapy. The immunotherapy my body rejected that because I had an autoimmune response. And so my doctors, so when we stopped that, my doctor said I probably would die within 10 months. And I refused to die. And that was when my creativity came back into play and said, no, I don't want to die. I got to figure out this is another problem for me to solve, right? So I decided, I did research and found out that there are a lot of alternatives out there. And even though my doctors had given up on me, I decided to try out some of these alternatives. And some of them worked. And so and they worked, obviously. I'm 6 years cancer-free now. And I decided to write a book about it. I felt like it was my obligation to share what I had learned with other people. And thank you. Thank you very much. And so I knew I wasn't going to make $1 million, like maybe Aaron made $1 million on his book, but I knew I wasn't going to make $1 million on my book, and I just wanted to get the word out there to as many people as possible that there are other things you can do to beat cancer.
Do you have
And
a copy of your book with you, William, you could hold up? Do you have a book with you?
I don't have it with me.
All right, that's
How
fine.
silly of me. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's okay.
I'm
That's
not all
okay.
about promoting my book. It's called Death Can Wait. It's called Death Can Wait. How I Beat Stage 4 Cancer Naturally. It's on Amazon. But yeah, and so that took a lot of creativity for me because I wasn't necessarily a writer. I enjoyed writing. I write really good memos in business environments, but so I had to really learn a lot and get creative to write a book, and it is a bestseller.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was amazed but it's amazing what you can do when you set your mind to it and you have a problem to solve. And that's me. I like solving problems. I like doing things efficiently. I like finding better ways to do things. And I have to admit, I did use Chat GPT a little bit in helping me with my book. I didn't.
Why not?
It wouldn't write it for me for sure because it's a controversial subject and they don't like controversial subjects. But I love, of course, being in computers. I love using computers to help me do things. And what ChatGPT is a computer solution.
Yep.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And now I'm creating my new life as a retired person, and
Thank you.
creating my vacations. We have 4 more trips planned in the near future.
Good.
And
I want to tell you, William, that I found out 2 years ago, I'm an early woman in tech. And what that means, no, I'm not Grace Hopper, not that far back, but I was coding in COBOL on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe, working in a computer room when I was a student, and I had to get up. Aaron, I could have borrowed one of your little step stools you probably sold in one of your garage sales. I wore high heels every day. I made my own suits. I had a little skirt, a little slit on the side. I had to climb up on a step stool with a disc pack that looked like a cake carrier. You've all seen people arrive with a cake at a party with the handle on it this big. The disc pack was in a carrier that looked like a cake carrier, and the drive would be a drawer that opened. You'd push a button and you'd drop this pack in, and then the drawer would close and the computer would read the data on that disk drive. So that's what I was doing. But the other kicker, William, is that I was back in the key punch era where I could key punch 2,000 lines of code and carry a box of cards that the operator fed in with the JCL, the job control language, into the computer. And I loved programming. I did it for years. To me, it was a eureka moment. I could jump up when I could write on paper 2,000 lines on a weekend, come in Monday to work, key punch it, put it in, and have it running by noon that day in production. So I was working for the state of, anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
Sounds like we were in the same era. Back when I was learning about computers, we had an IBM mainframe, and we had key punchers for the applications that came in.
We did our own. I was on a 4341 after that in PL1, but enough memories. We got to move on here. Thank you all for the bios. Fascinating. The 3 of you are just absolutely fascinating. I'm so glad I met you. Let's go to your opening quotes. We're going to do this quickly because I want to get to your statements, and I have all kinds of trivia to share with you today. A lot of famous birthdays of people you have never heard of, I promise you. Aaron LaPedis has sent us a quote, 3 words. Love the short ones. I'm short, Aaron. The quote is from Gold 5. Gold 5 is the call sign used by Davish Pops Krail, Krail, played by the late Graham Ashley. The movie, Star Wars, Episode IV-4, A New Hope, 1977 epic space opera film. Gold 5 flew with Gold Squadron during the Battle of Yavin. Though an experienced veteran pilot, Pops was no match for Darth Vader and was killed by the Sith Lord, along with Tyree and Gold leader Dutch Vander, sounds like Darth Vader, in the assault against the first Death Star. I have no idea what this means. Anyway, here is the quote. Aaron, and you're going to take 2 minutes and tell us what this has to do with your creativity. Stay on target. Aaron, help me out here. What does this mean?
So my family is a big Star Wars family, down to my little corgi is named Yoda. The ears sold him on that name, so he's adorable. So stay on target is basically, I probably say it once a day. Not if it's not to my son, it's to my staff, it's to a lot of people, because a lot of times life will pull you away and you need to stay on target. And it's like the best line of all times. and it just brings me back to hone in my skills. And when I go off track, I'm going to either lose money, lose concentration, or waste time. So stay on target is the line of the day pretty much every day for me.
I love it. I'm going to put it on a sign here in my office over my computer because I started a novel, a satire, a heavy duty, hysterically funny thriller, almost murder mystery satire. And I started 2 years ago and I wrote in two parts. I wrote the infrastructure. And it's about living in an HOA 55 plus community and all the rules and regulations. And there's almost a murder. And anyway, it's hysterically funny. I had so much fun writing it. And then I forgot to write the murder part. So I wrote a second part and I never put the two together. So when I finished the last line of dialogue, Aaron, for the character, the main character, I said, well, that's good. And I put it away and I never put it back into the whole book. So stay on target. That's my promise to myself before the end of 2024. I'll let you know when I do it. Thank you for the motivation and the input, please. And thank you. Ken Rohlf has picked a quote from the title of a Beatles song from 1970 on the album Let It Be. It's written by Paul McCartney, credited to Lennon McCartney, issued as a single in 1970, a month after the Beatles broke up. It was their 20th and final #1 hit on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. And very interesting about Phil Spector, and he wanted big orchestral overdubs, and Paul McCartney got pissed off, angry, and he dissolved the Beatles' legal partnership in the English High Court. Ken, I want you to know, we need a lawyer here. He cited treatment of the song by Phil Spector as one of the 6 reasons justifying the split of the Beatles, so they re-recorded it simpler. The title is 5 words, The Long and Winding Road. Ken, talk to me, 2 minutes.
Well, first, the Beatles, particularly Paul McCartney and John Lennon, were amazing creatives. And if you haven't had a chance, I would urge all of you to watch Let It Be on Apple TV. It's a long 6-hour documentary, but I was amazed in watching it at the creative process and how they went about it. It's kind of just like cameras in the studio as they're showing up. I don't, maybe you've seen it. It's amazing. So seeing that actually kind of moved me into action and got the juices flowing for writing Christmas Sun. I was just inspired by watching them and how they went about their business. And so for me, the lyric, The Long and Winding Road, really signifies that every project or idea or project starts with an idea and it's never ending. So you start, you polish, you sandpaper, you just keep working on it, adjust it and whatnot until you get something that at least you're happy with. And then you have to launch it. And of course, once launched, in order for it to be helpful to others, you need to keep moving with the marketing process and so on and so forth. So to me, every project, every business is a long and winding road. So that's why I
love it. Thank you. Very apropos. We're getting a lot of good advice here from these quotes, aren't we? William, let's see where your quote takes us. William has picked a quote from Darth Vader, played by James Earl Jones. Another Star Wars from Star Wars 5, the letter V. The Empire Strikes Back, 1980 American epic space opera. I never got the gist of a space opera. I'm sorry. Sequel to Star Wars 77. The two of you didn't get together who both picked Star Wars films. It just happened that way. Set after the events, 3 years after the events of Star Wars, the battle between malevolent galactic empire led by the Emperor and Rebel Alliance led by Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. As the Empire goes on the offensive, Luke trains to master the Force to confront the Emperor's powerful disciple, Darth Vader. Wonderful cast. Here is the line William has selected from Darth. Obi-Wan has taught you well. You have controlled your fear. Oh, William, that's deep. Go ahead. Tell us. What does this mean to you?
Oh, yeah, let me try it. Obi-Wan has taught you well. You have controlled your fear. And that's with my horse voice.
That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. You're no longer horse. You're Darth Vader now. Go ahead.
Yeah, everything fear has been the only thing that has held me back from trying new and exciting things. When I wanted to write my book, I almost didn't write it because I was afraid I'd be a failure. Or, trying almost anything that I set out to do fear tries to set in and keep me from doing it, but I have to overcome my fear in order to proceed forward with my desires and my goals and the things I want to do in life. And to me, the opposite of fear is love. Either there's a Bible verse. I'm not particularly religious, but there's a Bible verse that I remember, which I think is true, is that perfect love casts out. There is no fear in love. Perfect love casts out all fear. I think something like that. That was close enough, right?
Close enough.
But basically, fear and love cannot exist in the same mind at the same time. And so I have to remember that sometimes when I'm experiencing fear and when I'm afraid to try something new, I breathe in love and I exhale everything else. Breathe in love, exhale everything else. And it really helps me to stay focused and to focus my mind and focus my emotions. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. It's just
Good lesson. Good lesson. You've all given me a lot to think about. I think you're going to help me move off the dime and get my book done. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Wonderful quotes, the three of you. Thank you for doing the work, making the effort, and coming up with very interesting things to quote. Let's go to our I'm sorry. My Wednesday show is Technology Revolution, and we do predictions. Here we just do creativity statements. Aaron LaPedis, I'm going to read your quote, your statement number 3, which is why I named the title of this episode. You say, I can make lemonade out of life's lemons that are given to me. Life handed me an item that I made hundreds of, but it was not selling. However, I had Patrick Roy sign it, one of the most famous goalies of all time. I'm not going to tell the rest of the story. I want you to do it. Aaron, go ahead. 2-3 minutes. Take your time.
So I created this piece of art and in owning a gallery and doing a lot with all the teams, NHL, NBA, NFL. I would work with different teams to create great pieces of art. And I thought I could do no wrong. And one of the top goalies of all time is Patrick Roy with the Avalanche, 2 Stanley Cups. He is absolutely amazing. And I created this piece of art, found the artist, and he did this 3D piece of art on a celluloid with kind of a cartoon looking goalie with the puck going through 3 levels of celluloid, which made it look like it was actually moving towards the goal. Well, people didn't find it as amazing as I did, and the price tag, I guess, was just too high. And I thought everybody would love it, and I got it signed by Patrick Roy, and it did not sell. Matter of fact, the name of a band, Led Zeppelin, comes to mind because that's how it dropped, like a Led Zeppelin. And I thought about it. I was bothered because I spent tens of thousands of dollars on this, getting Patrick Roy to sign it and creating all these cells for it. And one day, somewhere popped in my head. Somebody said it on an email or something that said something less is more. And I'll never forget that line because now I use it all the time. When you write things, when you speak, sometimes less is more. And so Patrick ended up signing on the cell of the puck. And so I took his signature and the puck moving and put it over an 8x10 of just him. And I just put it in a simple little frame. I sold it for the same amount of money, and I sold out of all of them. And it was not so much as the art was important, it was the signature of Patrick Roy. And I sold them all. I made a ton of money, and it taught me a valuable lesson that you can't always hang out on your laurels, and less is more. And that saved me and has taught me life lessons moving forward.
That's lovely. I got a message from somebody, a birthday message from somebody I think was on one of my radio shows a couple of years ago, and he's quote unquote looking for work, and he's not having any success. So on a whim, Aaron, I took a look at his LinkedIn profile, It was like reading a novel. It was huge. I mean, there must have been 20 different bullets on everything he'd done and how much money he'd saved company, what he'd done here and what he'd done there. And he had lists of about 25 attributes that he had. And I went back to him and I said, his name is Scott. And I said, Scott, I hope you don't mind, just my 2 cents, but I'm the birthday girl, so I get to say this. I said, pretend you're going to a diner. Nobody's going to read all 15 pages of the diner menu. You're going to look at either the breakfast page or the dinner page or the lunch specials or the dessert and the beverages, right? And then you're going to find something you like. I said, pretend it's a menu. You don't want to throw everything at everybody. I said, I wouldn't have any idea how to hire you. You've got everything there. I said, scale it back. Pick the highlights. Make people want to know more. And he said, that's really a good idea. And you know what he said, Aaron? I guess you're right. Less is more. And he's rewriting his profile. So I just had that thought about 2 hours ago. I'm not a coach or anything, but I took a look and I said, holy crap, this guy, I mean, you couldn't even read through it. It was like he had solved every problem for every business in the entire world. No, of course he hadn't. Anyway, thank you very much. Let me go to Ken. I have 2 statements I'm going to read here, but I'm just going to read one and then we'll do one after Williams. And you say, I am inspired by reading biographies and watching documentaries of other creatives, seeing their vision come alive, watching them work and rework their creation until their final product appears. So I know this goes back to the Beatles, but tell us, who other documentaries and stories do you read that inspire you? Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I think probably my favorite movie, I don't know that this is a documentary or whatnot, but my favorite movie is probably Miracle, the U.S. hockey team. I don't know that it's necessarily a documentary, but it captures their experience in that. And I just always moved by real life stories that move people, in Miracle, obviously that was, for those who've seen it, that was quite an experience that moved not only that hockey team, but moved the country based upon their success in the hockey world or whatever. I don't know why I'm stuck on hockey, but that's
Wonder why.
But and just in going back to the Beatles thing a little bit, and watching that documentary, they just like grinded their work. They showed up every day with really nothing that was set in stone, and they just worked and collaborated and grinded their music out. It was amazing to watch. And I think the collaboration part too is something I learned from that. You might have what you think is a great little book or your book that you're writing, and I think it's always helpful to bounce that finished product off of people before, if you're working alone, especially if you're before you go to print, so that what you think is terrific they might have a suggestion that just is a game changer. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Thank you very much. I'm thinking of the
Thank you.
Stones line. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, you might get what you need. I think that's the line.
That's
Very
right.
interesting. Thank you. I'm trying to remember here. Okay. William Hudson. I've got 2 statements for you. I'm reading them together. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this from any of my guests out of hundreds of guests on the show, William. William says, I think through my fingers on the keyboard. When I'm not sure what I'm going to say next, I put my fingers on the keyboard and I wait for the words to come to my mind when they flow through my fingers, and then you add it in the next one before creating anything, a book, an article, a life, a vacation. I like to close my eyes and imagine the finished product in my mind. I bet Aaron does this too. If you can imagine it, you can make it. William, talk to Aaron. I want you to sit up a little bit because we're losing your face there. There we go. Thank you very much. William, go ahead. Tell us more.
Well, yeah, I think one of the most productive and smart things that I ever did was, again, my mother's influence on me was she told me I needed to take typing in high school. And this was back when one of the best jobs you could get was to be a secretary, right? So anyone who could type could get a job coming out of high school, right? So I learned how to type, and and typing has been beneficial in my whole career, of course, being in computers and being able to type without looking at the keyboard. And I can type, I don't know, 60, 70 words a minute. And so I can sometimes type as fast as I think. And so I've always, that's just been a thing for me. Like even when I'm writing a memo, like my years in a career working at different places, I would just put my fingers on the keyboard like they are right now, and I think, okay, I would just think the first line, and then it would come out by my fingers, and then immediately my fingers would say, "No, I'm going to fix that," and it was almost like my fingers and my mind were one and the same, and it's because I can type so fast, and so I'm really grateful for that skill in my life because it's really helped me, and then. Creating anything in my life, like my vacation I just came back from. I I'm a big fan of manifestation and you know thinking things into existence, and I've been pretty good at it in my life. And I haven't been a millionaire like Aaron has, but but
Aaron, you're our resident millionaire now. Everybody will refer to you. Go ahead, William.
And for all I know, Ken's been a millionaire too. He probably has been. He looks like a millionaire to me, but I've never been a millionaire, but I haven't needed to be because I've always found ways to live life to the fullest with what I have, and I try to be creative with using your imagination as the starting point, because we're all creators, right? We're all, who knows, maybe we're creator gods in some other universe, but we can create with our minds, and if you can envision it, if you can see it with your mind, you can make it and you can create it. I've always believed that, and it's always been true for me.
Thank you. Does Red look like a millionaire too? You're doling this out to the guys
Well,
on the.
of course,
What do you think?
Of course, Red looks like a millionaire. You look like a billionaire, especially with all those roses and those lips above your head.
Now I have to work harder. Thank you very much. Ken, quickly, I have one more for you that goes along with what William just said. And then we're going to do some not famous birthdays, but we got to do them. You say, I typically create late at night when the house is quiet and my creative juices begin to flow. 1 minute, Ken. What does this mean to you? Tell me. I love it.
Well, everything, I call it kind of the hustle and bustle. You just kind of have to get past the hustle and bustle, and then that happens at night when people go to bed and whatnot, and now it's quiet, and I call it my thinking chair, get in my thinking chair, and things just start to flow for me. I think that much like William said, my idea for Christmas Sun, it just came, and I probably wrote that book in 2 nights. Where once I had that vision, like William said, then I just needed to get it out. And I don't work on the keyboard like he does, but it just came out. So for me, yeah, you're right. I work best quiet late at night and just getting the job done.
I wanted to write a romantic comedy play several years ago, so I downloaded the outline of how do you script a play? What typeface do you need? The lines, what are the sections, describing the scene, defining the personalities of the characters. I started writing at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was working full time doing something. From 1 to 4, I wrote for 3 nights in a row, and the play literally wrote itself. William, my fingers were on that keyboard. The characters talked to me. Ken, it was late at night. I lived alone, but the juices were flowing. Aaron, I just knew it was in there somewhere, and I found it. The characters told me who they were, what they wanted me to say. I produced it in my TV studio with a cast from community theater on Long Island and made it real easy. And we did 2 versions. I had so many people who wanted to do it. Years later, I was living in North Carolina, and I started something called a cold reading salon. 25 people signed up in the community, and I said, here's a bunch of scripts, Roald Dahl, and free stuff I found on the internet that wasn't copyrighted. I print them out, put them on a table. I had 25 people. I said, come up and pick something. It'll either say dialogue, monologue, or scene with multiple characters in it. And I buried a scene from my play in there, and somebody picked it. And then they had 5 minutes to read it, and then people raised their hands, and they came up and cold read the script in front of the room. Well, somebody had picked one of my scenes. They're reading it. I'm sitting there laughing hysterically. I said, oh crap, that's mine. I wrote that. Who wrote that? That was really, really good. And this was about 8 years after I had written it. So I just know that feeling of just letting them talk. By the way, here's a quote from Rapunzel. We got 5 minutes. I can do it. Quote from Rapunzel, voiced by Mandy Moore in the movie Tangled. I doubt if any of you saw it, but it's a 2010 American 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film. Could they put any more genres in it? And the quote is, venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. I think we can all identify with that. What do you think, Aaron? Yes, and William and Ken
100%.
and I do too. So here are some interesting events in music history. I don't know if this matters to you, but it does to me. In 1939, on this day, Judy Garland, at age 16, recorded Over the Rainbow for the movie The Wizard of Oz. In 1950, on this date, CBS debuted The Frank Sinatra Show, his first TV show, a variety show. He had a 5-year contract. It folded after 2 years. On this date in 52, the Philadelphia TV dance show Bandstand was hosted by somebody named Bob Horn. It debuted, and Dick Clark took it over a few years later. On this date in, let's see, let me go to another one here. On this date in 1978, the Rolling Stones played their new single, I don't have the name of it, on Saturday Night Live. On this date in 2000, Howard Stern is named Nationally Syndicated Personality of the Year. My God, what were they thinking? We'll leave that alone. On Billboard Airplay Monitor Radio Awards. On this day in 2008, talking about innovation, Spotify launched. The most streamed song for October 2008 was Viva La Vida by Coldplay. 10 years later, Spotify had 180 million active users and 40 million songs. How's that for interesting? Today, Joy Behar, 82. Can you believe it? Happy birthday. She was an English teacher on Long Island in Lindenhurst High before she started in whatever she's doing. John Mellencamp is 73 today. Jack and Diane, #1 hit, nominated for over 10 Grammys, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2008. And he sang a duet with Bruce Springsteen once on Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. Yo-Yo Ma is 69 today, classical cellist. I told you that. And he wanted to play the double bass because he liked the size, but he chose the cello as a compromise. There we go. Simon Cowell, 65. How did he do it? Television producer, executive talent manager. He was unable to hold a steady job, so his father got him a job in the mailroom at his company, EMI Music Publishing. Can you believe that? Talk about innovation over the years. And Toni Braxton, everybody remembers her song Unbreak My Heart. She's 57 today, and she played Belle in the Broadway rendition of Beauty and the Beast, and she went for a teaching degree at Bowie State University. Okay, here we go. YouTube, there's a birthday. His name is Ryan Trahan, Trahan. He's 26. Why are we celebrating his birthday, William and Ken and Aaron? Because he has 17 million subscribers. What does he do on YouTube? Comedy and lifestyle, video sharing his background as a runner. And he did 1 week of surviving on 1 penny for a week, and his video went viral 3 years ago. Don't even ask. On TikTok, we have a young lady named Celia Reina, Reina. She's 22. Just starting out, obviously. Feel sorry for her. She only has 5 million fans. She posts couples relationship content, fashion, beauty, dance trends, and comedy. I'm in the wrong field. And then on Instagram, we have Nick Koser, who is 41, old guy, 2.4 million followers on Insta and 87 million on TikTok. William, I hope you're sitting down. He's get ready for this. He's a meteorologist on Fox 46 in Charlotte, North Carolina. 87 million fans on TikTok. He shares photos dressed as different celebrities. They refer to him as the dancing weatherman. He does clever sign photography, turning clearance signs into math equations. I don't even know what that means. And also on Insta, we have Dawsonish. Dawsonish. I got to go in a minute. 25, he has 6 million Insta fans and 2.1 on YouTube. Today is National Frappe Day. It was designed because somebody was mixing coffee and didn't have anything but ice, and he made it years ago, and Starbucks took it over. National Inner Beauty Day, World Architecture Day, Cotton Day, National Consignment Day, You Matter to Me Day, National Curry Week. It's Bat Appreciation Month, Squirrel Awareness, Pitbull Awareness, Country Music Month, and Walk to School Month. And it's the month of apples, caramels, cookies, desserts, pasta, pizza. Have I covered it all? Pickled peppers, pretzels, sausage, and vegetarians. In 2014, I had the top 10 tips for women to close my show, and I kept one of them here. It has nothing to do with you, but I always like to say this. The #1 tip was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Here's my real closing. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly? Nah. Kiss slowly? Oh, yeah. Love truly, laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me, everybody. 1, 2, 3. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Nobody else cares. Dance like nobody's watching. They watched me when I was teaching dancing and disco. Sing like nobody's listening, and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart regrow, revive, and rejuvenate. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red signing off. Don't go away. Guess we're going to talk Michael.